Hello everyone and welcome to another round of Tuesday Night Legacy brought to you by Spellhold Games. My name is Eugene and I'll be your commentator as always for this round 3 from March 1st. On the left we have Ali playing Mono Black Control and on the right we have another lands list piloted by Fred. So we will see if the control list is good enough to get all those cards discarded and take over the game that way, or if Fred is going to knock it out with that raw advantage generated by all those different land types. All right, let's get started. I think we have Fred on the play here, starting with a Windswept Heath, a fancy Windswept Heath, and passing turn. Ali starting with Basic Swamp. One of the main advantages of a deck like this is you don't have to spend a ton of money on all of these dual lands. The Mono Black list can actually be extremely expensive if you're spending the money on certain cards like, the Abyss and the Chains of Mephistopheles. So I guess no matter what in Legacy, you can spend big money if you want to. Ali started the game with a Dark Ritual into a Dauthi Voidwalker. Although this Dauthi Voidwalker will die to Punishing Fire. It's a little sad. So that was a neat interaction there. Punishing Fire, dealing the 2 damage, killing the Dauthi, but the Dauthi's ability, static ability, saying whenever a card would go into a graveyard from anywhere for the opponent, it exiles it instead. The Punishing Fire, once it fully resolves, is when it deals its damage, so it is technically in the graveyard when the spell resolves, which means that the Dauthi Voidwalker static ability will exile the Punishing Fire, which is going to actually set that that card back, since you're trying to generate that value by pulling Punishing Fire back from the grave with the Grove of the Burn Willows. If it's in exile, you can't do that. Next card we see is a Dark Confidant from Ali. This is how his Mono Black control list kind of generates value, or generates card advantage. We see him flipping over a swamp there with the Dark Confidant ability, taking 0 damage since a swamp has 0 converted mana cost. We see a couple more cards come down on Fred's side. The Sylvan Library, allowing him to also have some card advantage and card selection. Looking at the top 3 cards of his library, putting them back however he wants. And if he wants to pay for life to draw up to 2 extra cards, he can. So if Fred really feels like it in a single turn, he can draw all 3 of those cards for his draw step, but he would take 8 damage to do so. We see another land come down, the Tabernacle at Pendrell Vale. I kind of changed the art that we can see here because this one actually has the correct text eroded onto it. All creatures have at the beginning of your upkeep, destroy this creature unless you pay 1. So indestructible creatures can choose not to pay this ability and they won't be destroyed because they're indestructible. We see Fred casting a Crop Rotation. Oh, actually, we saw Fred cast Valakut Exploration. So this is going to generate a lot of advantage for him. Whenever he plays a land, it exiles a card off the top of his library, and he can cast it if he wants to. So he is going to cast that Crop Rotation that we saw. If there are any cards still exiled with Valakut Exploration at the end of Fred's turn, that actually just turns into damage to each of his opponents. So this is a viable win condition for lands. If you have a ton of explorations out and you're playing like 3 or 4 lands a turn, then you can just shoot your opponent for 3 to 4 damage per turn if you got everything else on lockdown. We see that Tabernacle tapping for black, since Ali does have an Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth, giving all lands in play the ability, or just gives them the static ability of being a swamp, so they can all tap for a black if they want, if the opponent wants to. So we see 3 mana being paid here, another Dauthi Voidwalker, and a Thoughtseize grabbing a Pithing Needle. Urza Saga in play. Crop Rotation is here. Urza Saga, also a very viable win condition for the lands deck. It's going to be able to create those XX Karnstruct tokens for how many artifacts are in play. And it also goes and gets things like either Pithing Needle, which unfortunately I think he only runs 1 in the main board, so you can't grab that right now since it's an exile, but Mox Diamonds, and I guess he's got quite the package, because he's got an Engineered Explosives in the graveyard as well. See a land come down. Thespian Stage, exile and crop rotation. So Fred wants to. It looks like he is going to cast that crop rotation. Oh no, he's just going to let it go to exile. So it would have gone to the grave with the Valakut ability, but with a Dauthi in play, it is going to exile. That pile to the left of Fred's deck is the Dauthi pile. So he can, Ali can sacrifice Dauthi Voidwalker at any time and be able to cast one of those cards from that exile pile. So how Ali has been stacking his triggers, the Tabernacle of the Pendrell Veil actually gives that ability to the creatures. So it does become a trigger that is responsible for the owner of the creature. And so Ali says, okay, I'm going to stack my triggers in such a way that I get to draw my extra card off of the Dark Confidant first before I decide whether I want to pay my Tabernacle triggers on the creatures that I have. All right, we see the Urza Saga Construct come up. Fatal Push from Ali takes care of the first one. This is now Fred's next turn. Main phase decides to make the other Construct, and now he gets the 0 or 1 cast artifact. He's going to get Pyrite Spellbomb. An interesting kind of toolkit artifact here. Can deal 2 damage to any target, but this is a colorless damage source, which sometimes is quite relevant. In this case, I think Fred just wanted to get rid of one of the problematic creatures that Ali had, so it was just kind of a free 2 damage. Getting that, we see a Life from the Loam cast. On Fred's side, he was holding this back because if he had cast Life from the Loam with Dauthi into play, it would have gone to exile. So now that he has it, decided to fire off that Life from the Loam. Another Fatal Push, getting rid of the other Construct on Ali's side, or rather on Fred's side. Although I think Fred is setting himself up for the Merit Lage combo. We see Dark Confidant getting another land, and then paying that 1. 2 more damage in. Ali just whittling away Fred's life total. But with all of these different effects that Fred gets to use during the turn, the Sylvan Library, the Life from the Loam, the Valakut Exploration, there's just so much value that is generated out of the lands deck. And basically all Fred has to do is find, he already has the Thespian Stage in play, so he just has to grab that Dark Depths. He might even have one in his hand from his last Loam. We see a third Dauthi Voidwalker from Ali. 2 mana. It looks like he's got a Turok in hand, a sudden what is that card? Not sudden spoiling, but we see another Dark Confidant come down. Sudden Edict. So I think Ali is saving that Sudden Edict for the Merit Lage, because if Fred only has 1 creature in play and it's Merit Lage, then Ali can cast Sudden Edict. It has split second, so Fred cannot respond to that ability, or to that cast, and then he would have to sacrifice Merit Lage. But I think Fred is aware of Ali having that removal spell, so I think he's going to activate this Urza Saga to get those Constructs in play to have some extra fodder to get rid of. Looks like Fred's got a Boseiju who endures. Can destroy, well, nothing to destroy on Ali's side right now. Maybe the Castle Locthwain, but that doesn't seem super useful. We see a land play. The Valakut shows a crop rotation, which Fred does cast, getting the Dark Depths out of his deck. So at any time, Fred can now activate the Thespian Stage to create his Merit Lage. We are going to Ali's turn. So Ali is in kind of a pickle here because he's got so many triggers that Fred can respond to. At any of these triggers, he can respond and make the Merit Lage. So Ali showing the Wasteland, which is the answer to the Dark Depths combo. But the problem is now he's got 3 Tabernacle Pendrell Veil triggers on the stack, and he also has to go to draw steps. So Fred has priority to make the Merit Lage on any one of those. So I don't know if Ali is going to be able to get to his main phase to play that Wasteland to get rid of the Dark Depths in response. We see Ali thinking about this exile pile from the Dauthi Voidwalker. I think he's thinking that I could get the Pithing Needle as well, but that also requires him to get through all of those triggers in draw phase in order to cast Pithing Needle and say Thespian Stage. And even with that, Fred can respond to casting Pithing Needle and activate his Lage combo. So no matter how he cuts it, can't really respond before the Lage comes. And Fred is aware of it, decides before your draw step, I'm going to, one, create the Construct to protect from sacrifice effects, and then create the Merit Lage. So I am safe to get that out. And Ali says, okay, yep, that'll do it. And we will go to game 2. That was quite an interaction. Even if Ali had tried to attack, I don't think he would have been able to. All he could have done was cast the Sudden Edict to get rid of the Construct, and then attacked 4 damage into the 20/20, bringing Fred down to 5. That would not have been enough. So we see here just a basic Swamp from Ali, and we see a pretty classic lands opening. Grove the Burnwillows, Mox Diamond, discard Karakas, put down a Sylvan Library. And this is a new card. Oh, I hadn't talked about Life from the Loam, but that's okay. I think if you've been watching the videos for this week, you're very well aware of Life from the Loam, since we've seen it from 4 out of the 6 decks this week. Nile Spellbomb. 1 cast artifact, and he can tap it to blow up a graveyard at any time. And if he does that, he can also play a black mana and get to draw a card too. This is a pretty good response to decks that like to abuse their graveyards, especially decks like lands that uses Life from the Loam and Punishing Fire. If you can catch them in a good spot, you can kind of shut down that recursion. Ali having 2 Urza Sagas here. It's going to make a Construct, but Fred says, hold on, I have a response. Windswept Heath, sacrifice, get Taiga. Tapping 2 for a Punishing Fire. Just a Punishing Fire. That was interesting. Oh no, the Punishing Fire kills the Construct. That makes sense. So now we are on Ali's main phase. So he cast the Dark Ritual in response to the triggers going on the stack. He's going to make the Construct. Going to get a 1 cast or 0 cast artifact. Looked at that Retrofitter Foundry, decided, yes, that is the card that I want to see. Retrofitter Foundry can just puke out artifact creature after artifact creature, making a bunch of servos, which is going to grow these constructs. And using that remaining mana from the Dark Ritual, we're going to see a second construct come down from the second Urza Saga. So these are currently 4/4s, which is presenting quite a bit of damage, definitely out of Punishing Fire range. I'm not sure what other removal Fred runs. Okay, so this is a little bit of an awkward interaction here. Ali was waiting for Fred to activate the life gain from the Grove of the Burnwillows to pull back the Punishing Fire, but he had already resolved a Sylvan Library trigger. And so I think they're talking about how they want to resolve this, because he had already drawn for turn, but this was supposed to be during upkeep. And so they decide, okay, we'll pull out the Punishing Fires, which there's only 2 of. I think technically Ali should be able to know what those 3 cards are as well. No Punishing Fires in hand. Yeah, I'm not super happy with that, since Ali was supposed to have full knowledge of every card, especially if Fred's just letting those cards go away now that he's activating the Urza Saga. It's a little strange. But in any case, I do not think that Fred would maliciously hide a Punishing Fire in those top 3 cards, so I don't think that was anything bad happening there. It was just kind of awkward timing. So we see an Expedition map coming down. Life from the Loam is going to pull back that Urza Saga. Oh, the Nile Spellbomb is going to get activated in response. Fred was simply declaring targets, which is always a good thing to do with Life from the Loam, as you can technically not target anything with Life from the Loam. It's up to 3 targets, so it's always great to cast the spell and declare your targets before just pulling them back, allowing your opponent to have priority, which is something that sometimes we kind of lack on a little bit. We see some damage coming through here. Looks like Fred's got a Construct as well. It's a 3/3 with the Mox Diamond and the Expedition map in itself. He's going to declare blocks to one of the constructs on Ali's side, which is also a 3/3, since he blew up the Nile Spellbomb. Expedition map is going to grab Thespian Stage after I think blocks and trades were declared. Maybe not trades. We see the Thespian Stage come down and Engineered Explosives on 0. Oh, here's the Surgical Extraction that pulled the Punishing Fires out. You can pay 2 life instead, which is makes it splashable in any color deck. Engineered Explosives, paying 0 for it is going to be able to destroy all non-land permanents that cost 0. All tokens have CMC 0, so you can just play the Engineered Explosives, pay 2, and blow up all the tokens in play. So we see Fred go and get, I think he just naturally had that Dark Depths in his hand, so he has the Merit Lage combo live once again. Ali has 5 damage presenting on this Dark Confidant and Dauthi Voidwalker. Looks like he's got a Liliana of the Veil. Unfortunately, casting that is not going to be able to sacrifice the Merit Lage, as he can do it at instant speed. Yeah, and Ali tried to play the Expedition map so that he could sacrifice and get a Wasteland, and Fred saw that coming, decided to make the Merit Lage instead, and that was the end of the round. Ali did not have the answer to the 2020. So that ends our round 3, and I hope you join us for round 4 in just a little bit. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already to the channel. We are getting closer and closer to 100 subscribers. It's very exciting, and I hope to see you next round.